Victor Mature really hated him more than anyone else. Victor Mature was born. His full name was Victor John Mature, and he came into the world on January 29, 1913 in Louisville, Kentucky. Victor John Mature grew up in a family that didn't have much money. His dad, Morello Galindo Mature, came from Austria and worked cutting and shaping metal. His mom, Clara P. Ackley, had family from Switzerland. Growing up in a simple home, Mature learned to work hard from a young age. He took lots of different jobs, like going door-to-door selling candy and working as an elevator operator to help his family pay the bills. Even though he didn't start out rich, Mature dreamed of living a more exciting and fancy life. After spending a short time at the Kentucky Military Institute and owning all kinds of random jobs in Chicago, he chose to head out west to California, wanting to try his hand at acting. He went to the Pasadena Community Playhouse, a famous school where many wonderful actors learned their craft, and that's where he got better at acting and got noticed by people who found talent for Hollywood. Victor Mature's movie career really got going in the late 1930s, but it was in the 1940s and 1950 seconds that he became super famous. He got early attention for his part in 1 Million BC in 1940, where his strong body and face full of feeling made everyone notice him. His acting, even though the movie didn't have much talking, showed he could grab people's attention and show both strength and soft feelings at the same time. During World War II, Mature stopped his growing career to help his country. He joined the United States Coast Guard and spent several years doing dangerous work on ships that carried troops. His love for his country and choosing to give up being famous to serve earned him a lot of respect both in Hollywood and from regular people. After his time in the military, Mature came back to making movies and quickly became a star again. He showed amazing talent by acting in all sorts of different movies, from dark crime films and religious epics to cowboy movies and love stories. He got major praise for his part as the doomed fur trapper in My Darling Clementine in 1946. Directed by John Ford. In this movie, his gentle and caring way of playing Doc Holliday showed people he could act with real feeling. Mature also became really important in big epic films that were popular in the 1950s, especially in Samson and Delilah in 1949. Directed by Cecil B. DeMille, his acting as the super strong Bible character Samson, acting opposite Hedy Lamarr who played Delilah, showed off his muscles and how great he looked on camera in a part that people still remember today. Other great performance included when he played Demetrius in The Robe in 1953 and the sequel called Demetrius and the Gladiators in 1954. In these movies, he brought both class and strong emotion to playing a romance slave who became a Christian martyr, even though he was successful. Victor Mature often showed nice humility about how good he was at acting. He was famous for putting himself down. He once joked, "I'm no actor, and I've got 64 films to prove it," but this humble way of talking only mad fans and people he worked with like him even more. Mature was known for being professional, funny, and relaxed when making movies. These things made directors and other actors really like working with him. When he wasn't working, he lived a pretty quiet life, choosing to hang out with close friends and family instead of going to fancy Hollywood parties and nightclubs. His hobbies included playing golf. He once joked that he stopped acting because it got in the way of his golf games and spending time outside. This made sense for a guy who often played tough, adventurous characters in movies. As the 1960s came around, Mature began to stop taking main roles, slowly stopping acting to focus on a calmer, more relaxing life. He showed up sometimes in movies and TV shows throughout the 1960s and 1970s, often making fun of his own movie personality in a good-natured way. His last movie appearance was in the 1984 comedy Firepower, and after that he completely stopped acting. Mature lived his final years in comfort and mostly alone, which was very different from the bright spotlight of his earlier career. Even though lots of people celebrated him, Mature often downplayed how good he was at acting with his typical modesty and jokes about himself. He famously joked that he was not an actor and I've got 64 films to prove it. This humble attitude made colleagues and fans like him even more. And it was so different from the huge egos often seen in Hollywood stars. Victor Mature's personal life was as colorful and full of events as his long career in Hollywood. During his life, Mature got married 5 times, with each relationship being a different chapter in his story. His first marriage was to Francis Charles, and they got together in 1938. But the marriage didn't last long and ended up being cancelled in 1940. We don't know much about Francis Charles, but the cancellation suggested that the relationship probably had serious problems or outside pressures that made going on impossible. At this time, Mature's acting career was just starting to take off, and the hard work of making it in the tough world of Hollywood might have helped cause their marriage to fall apart. Mature's second marriage was to Martha Stevenson Kemp, whose husband before had been the famous big band leader Hal Kemp. They get married in 1941, when Mature was becoming famous as a leading man in films like 1 Million BC. Their relationship, though, only lasted until 1943 and ended in divorce. Martha's connection to the music world and Mature's growing stardom in Hollywood made them a fancy couple for a little while. But like many celebrity marriages, the stress of public life, different careers, and personal problems likely hurt their marriage too much to fix. In 1948, Victor Mature married Dorothy Stanford Berry. This third marriage happened at the same time as a really successful period in Mature's career, with hits like Samson and Delilah just about to come out. Dorothy and Victor stayed married for 7 years, getting divorced in 1955. Not much is known publicly about Dorothy Stanford Berry's life, but while they were married, Mature's fame and the crazy travel and work scheduled for his movie roles could have caused a lot of stress on their relationship. It's also possible that Mature's bigger than real-life personality, which was so clear in his public life, made it hard for him to keep long-term personal relationships during these busy years. His fourth marriage was to Drienne Joy Erwick, starting in 1959. This marriage lasted for 10 years, ending in divorce in 1969. This was a time of change for Mature, both in his personal life and his work life, as he was slowly moving away from the intense pace of acting and living a more relaxed lifestyle. Drienne Erwick wasn't as well known to the public compared to some of Mature's earlier partners, and this more private way of life may have worked well for him at first, but even with a quieter life, the marriage ended up falling apart, possibly because of changing priorities and different personal goals during this part of Mature's life. Finally, Victor Mature found love that would last with Loretta Gay Sabala, a talented opera singer. They got married in 1974 and stayed together until Mature died in 1999. This was Mature's longest and most lasting marriage, and it was stable. They had his only child, a daughter named Victoria, who was born in 1975 when Mature was 62 years old. Loretta career in opera and the arts may have given them things in common and a mutual love for each other's talents. Their daughter Victoria, inspired by her mother's example, grew up to become an opera singer herself, carrying on the family's artistic legacy. In later interviews, Victoria talked fondly of her father's humor, warmth, and love of life, showing a picture of Mature as a caring family man in his later years, far away from the bigger-than-real-life characters he often played on screen. Besides his marriages, Victor Mature also had romances that people really noticed and got excited about. He was engaged to the stunning Hollywood movie star Rita Hayworth, one of the time's most famous actresses. Their relationship was serious enough to lead to an engagement, but Hayworth ended up breaking it off and married the famous director Orson Welles instead. This breakup reportedly hurt Mature a lot at the time, though he kept acting like a gentleman in public. Mature was also engaged to actress Anne Shirley, another bright star of the 1930s and 1940s movies, even though their engagement also didn't end in marriage. Each had Mature's place within the top social circles of Hollywood's best people during his best years. Victor Mature, the tough and charming star of classic films like Samson and Delilah and My Darling Clementine, was known through a Huthalio for his relaxed personality, jokes about himself, and generally not acting pretentious. Unlike many of his fellow actors who took themselves very seriously, Mature often joked about high sound acting skills, famously saying, "I'm not an actor, and I've got 64 pictures to prove it." But even though he had a reputation for being friendly and even-tempered, there was one man in the whole entertainment industry that Victor Mature really hated: Richard Burton. Mature's hatred for Burton wasn't because of silly jealousy or wanting to compete, even though Burton's amazing rise as a Shakespeare trained actor definitely was different from Machure's more popular action hero image. Instead, it came from a complex mix of personal disgust, different beliefs, and specific things that happened that left a lasting mark on Mature. Mature saw Burton as the perfect example of everything he didn't like about Hollywood. New serious acting crowd of the 1950 sand 1960 seconds, full of themselves, showy, and looking down on the kind of entertainment Mature believed regular moviegoers really wanted. The beginning of Mature's anger toward Burton started during the making of The Robe in 1953, the first movie ever shown in the widescreen cinemascope. Burton played the troubled Roman military leader Marcellus Gallio, while Mature played Demetrius, the converted slave. Even though the film made a lot of money and got praised, their relationship between the two men was cold at best. Burton, at the peak of his intellectual arrogance, supposed looked down on Mature, treating him as nothing more than a pretty face. A model-turned-actor whose limited range and lack of formal training were beneath contempt, Burton didn't really try to hide his disrespect, making fun of Mature's acting style when he wasn't around, and more than one time, making mean jokes about Mature's muscular body being his only real talent. For Mature, who had worked hard to build a respectable career without going to fancy drama schools or having a background in Shakespeare plays, Burton's sneering attitude wasn't just insulting. It was a slap in the face to everything he believed in. Mature thought that acting was about connecting with an audience, entertaining them, making them feel emotions, and telling stories in a way that touched everyday people. Not about showing off one's ability to speak fancy poetry or give tortured speeches. To him, Burton represented a dangerous trend in Hollywood toward thinking you're better than others, being pretentious, and pushing away ordinary viewers. Their interactions when they weren't filming only made Mature's contempt stronger. Burton, who was well known for drinking too much, would often show up on set either hungover or still kind of drunk, messing up his lines or making filming take longer. While Mature himself enjoyed a drink once in a while, he took pride in being professional when it came to work. He saw Burton's behavior as not only disrespectful to the other actors and crew, but also an insult to the basic standards of professionalism. To Mature, a man's word, work ethic, and behavior mattered more than any praise from critics or number of awards. Making things worse was Burton's wild and dramatic relations with actress Elizabeth Taylor, which Mature saw with open disgust. The shocking Headley Negrabing affair, which started during the filming of Cleopatra and lateral to Burton and Taylor's highly publicized marriages and divorces, represented to Mature the kind of vanity, narcissism, and moral decline that he believed was infecting Hollywood. Mature, who lived pretty modest life despite his fame and liked spending time on the golf course instead of going to old parties, saw Burton's lifestyle as reckless and vulgar. A betrayal of their respect he felt actors owed their profession. In later years, even as Burton's career went up and down, and his personal problems became more obvious, Mature's dislike did not soften. When asked in interviews about certain actors she had worked with, Mature would sometimes make hints at actors who thought the world should revolve around how smart they were or those who never stopped acting like they were on a stage. These were clear hints at Burton without naming him directly. When talking privately with friends, Mature was more direct, supposedly describing Burton as an arrogant loudmouth and the worst kind of fake, a drunk who thought he was Aristotle. Victor Mature was not a man who held many grudges. He was famous for walking away from Hollywood when he was at the top of his fame, retiring comfortably to play golf, sail, and enjoy his personal life without regrets. Butchart Burton remained the one person who could make him really angry even decades later. In a town filled with friendships and rivalries that usually faded with time, Mature's anger toward Burton stood out as unusually deep and long-lasting. A reminder that even the most laid-back man could find someone truly unbearable. Victor Mature passed away on August 4, 1999, after a long battle with leukemia. Headed peacefully at his home in Rancho Santa Fe, California, a quiet and wealthy community near San Diego, where I had lived for many years during his retirement. Mature was 86 years old at the time of his death, even though he had enjoyed a long and successful career in Hollywood. In his later years, he had mostly pulled back from the spotlight, choosing a life of privacy and leisure, including playing golf and spending time with friends. His death marked the end of an era for fans who remembered him as one of the great leading men of classic Hollywood movies, known for his rugged good looks, unique voice, and memorable performance in many different kinds of roles, from biblical epics to dark crime thrillers. After his death, Machure's body was taken back to his birthplace of Louisville, Kentucky, a city he had always felt strong emotional ties to throughout his life. He was laid to rest in the Machure family plot at St. Michael's Cemetery, an old Catholic cemetery located in city. His grave is easily noticed by a striking copy of the Angel of Grief, a famous sculpture from the 1800s, originally created by artist William Wetmore Story as a tribute to his wife. The monument showing a crying angel collapsed in sadness over a tomb is a touching and moving symbol of loss and remembrance. Its presence at Machure's gravesite shows not only the grief of his family and fans, but also the timeless and artistic beauty to his final resting place. The sculpturesque elegance works as a powerful tribute to Machure's enduring legacy, his family's devotion, and the deep sense of affection felt by those who knew him personally or admired him from afar. In recognition of his lasting contributions to the motion picture industry, Victor Machure was honored with a star on the prestigious Hollywood Walk of Fame. His star is located at 6780 Hollywood Boulevard, a great spot in the heart of Hollywood, where millions of visitors walk by every year. The Walk of Fame is saved for individuals who have made big impacts in the fields of film, television, music, radio, and live performance. And Machure's inclusion among its honorees confirms his importance in movie history. Throughout his career, which went on for more than 3 decades, Machure starred in a series of highly successful and beloved films such as Samson and Delilah in 1949, My Darling Clementine in 1946, Kiss of Death in 1947, and The Robe in 1953. His roles often showed off his versatility as an actor capable of playing heroes, anti-heroes, and complex layered characters. The star on Hollywood Boulevard stands today as a lasting monument to Machure's achievements and the permanent mark he left.